Oh, mic check, Yo San. All right, so boys, welcome to the last teaching video of our whole DSC syllabus, in which this time, finally, we are into one of the, let's just put it, one of the more useless topic of the trade barrier, chapter 24. All right, now, so let's try to make this video short. Now, for the first part, read it by yourself. Not going to waste your time here. Let's go directly right into what we need to learn for the world trade and small open economy. Now, first of all, in chapter 24, we are interested in the situation of a small open economy, in the sense that a small open economy, remember, it cannot affect the world price at all. In fact, it is so small that basically the quantity available from overseas now, we are talking about, of course, we as an importer, 我哋入口嗰個人啦, basically the world is infinite amount of goods that they can import. We can import from the overseas, right? So what happens is that, let's talk about what happens without trade. Now, without trade is easy, right? Without trade, just our normal, this guy, our normal demand and our normal supply. Nothing special, right? Now, what about in an so-called open situation? We have trade. Then you need to know there are two supply curves in force. First, this is our domestic supply. 咁正常嗰條嘛向上斜嘅. But this time, we also face another supply curve from overseas. 係嘛? This, we call it the world price. 係嘛? It will be fixed at the world price. 係嘛? You cannot affect the world price. Therefore, you take the world price, and the quantity is basically unlimited. So when you add them up together, what happens is that it becomes something like this. First of all, demand, of course, unchanged as always, right? 係咪? Demand 不變. Now we need to draw two things. First, still, this is what we call the domestic supply. 本地嘅. Now we need one more extra curve. Here, this will be our world price. This will be from the overseas. Okay, so effectively, when these two add together, the effective total supply curve would become this guy, the red one. Okay, becomes the red one. And you will see quantity would end up in here. Okay, price would end up in here. Now, so what is going on here? You see there are two curves in play. How do we analyze these curves, right? Now, first of all, remember, this part, okay, 我哋睇前面先啦. This is the local supply. 見唔見啊? Local supply 呢度. World supply is right here. Which one is cheaper? You can see that the local supply is cheaper. Therefore, people would buy from the local market. 係咪? 前面會喺度買啦. This part is our domestic production. 本地係生產咁多啫. Why? But we are at Q2, right? 好嘛? So what happens to the rest of the quantity? The rest of these would become import volume. 係咪? 呢啲咪 import 入嚟咯. 係咪? Because after this particular level, look at here, the local supply would be more expensive than the world supply. Therefore, people would rather import from overseas 平啲啊嘛. 好嘛? So this is how we do the analysis for such kind of curves. All right? 好嘛? Now, hopefully, it still makes sense to you. Now, for this chapter, we need to look at two different kind of trade barrier. First type, we call it tariff. Okay, taxation. 好啦，咁啊，侵侵最中意啦。So what happens is that 嗱，下面嗰兩格唔好理啦 ，increase decrease 嗱，唔好理佢兩格啦，好冇？嗱，what happens is that of course, right? We have our demand. 好嘛？ Then we have our domestic supply. And we have our original world price. 好啦， so what happened is that when I have a tariff, let's say I have a tariff of this. You remember, right? Tariff would push up the price. Therefore, the price of import, price of import would become this. Let's call it P1. Okay, P1. 會變到 P1 啦，係嘛？嗱 but remember, this is pushing up the import price would go up. Do not say world price goes up. No. 係嘛？ This is not a world price because remember, you are a small open economy. Can you affect the world price? No, you cannot affect world price. 你影響唔到嘅，得唔得？ All right, 好嘛？ So here, let's see what happens. Originally, 嗱我哋又界開啦。Okay, originally, we were at Q1 here. 好嘛？ Now remember, original, this is our domestic production. 1. This is our import 1. Okay, this is our original situation. Now, with the tariff, what happens? It goes to here, Q2. Obviously, the consumption pattern, right? The local consumption, the local consumption amount would drop from Q1 to Q2. 嗱，我哋一陣間先講呢啲字眼，好唔好啊？ Will drop from Q1 to Q2. Here, you will see what happened. The new import would become here smaller. 見唔見啊？細咗啊個 import。OK， 個 import 細咗啊。And our domestic production would increase. 會升咗啦，係咪啊？ Domestic production would increase compared to here. OK， 好嘛？ And you will see the price of domestic product would also end up in here. 係咪？最後都會去到呢點啦。Would also end up in here. So you will see, right? Domestic price would goes up. 係嘛？ Obviously, import price would also go up. 係嘛？ Something like that. 好冇？ So this is the effect of a tariff. Now finally, remember, tariff, government can also receive tariff, right? 係嘛？ So what is the total tariff here? Remember, tariff per unit, this length, right? 好啦，而家 import 咗幾多啊？ After tariff, we are importing this amount. Therefore, this green box, this will be our tariff revenue. Okay, this will be the tariff revenue to the government. Okay, 好嘛？ So for increase and decrease, you just try to push this up or this down, then you will see the result. 好嘛？嗱，我唔想喺度嘥時間啦。嗱 ，because again, honestly, this chapter 頭先開始唔記得講添。This chapter, why I say is one of the most unimportant chapter, because the average amount of question you can find is actually less than 1 MC per year, at least as of now. 每年少過條 MC 㗎。Okay, now of course I'm not saying it cannot appear in short question. I'm only saying that your expected loss of not knowing this chapter isn't that high, to be completely honest with you. Okay, 係嘛？所以呢課啦又難嘅，you see right? A little bit complicated, not exactly too useful. Alright， 好嘛？嗱，不如唔好講咁多廢話啦。Let's look at some questions. How it would appear in practice. 我哋不如睇 practice 佢點做啦，好嘛？ Now here, let's go to page 4. 嗱，你見啦，第一條啊 the first question for this topic appears in 2014. 1213年都冇考過啊。OK， 好嘛 ？So the the following diagram shows the imposition of an import tariff. 好啦，佢講明有 tariff 啦。From P1 to P1 plus T， 你見唔見啊？佢寫得好小心嘅。It says P1 plus T, okay? World price. It doesn't say the new world price. It just say world price plus T. 嗱，好小心咁寫嘅，係咪啊？好啦， now which of the following is incorrect? Okay, first of all, the import volume after imposition 應該邊個啊？ This part, right? This part will be our import. Q2, Q3 minus Q2. Yes, this is correct. Okay. Domestic consumption. 唔該你小心啲啦，好唔好啊？ What is the domestic consumption? Remember, there are two sources of goods available. Either domestic production or import. Both would give you availability of the good. Now, therefore, the domestic consumption should be Q3 right here. 係咪啊？係 import 加埋 domestic 個production 啊嘛。OK， 好嘛？ Now, the increase in producer surplus is area A. Yes, very easy, right? Originally, P1 and MC, this guy. Now, P1 plus T and MC, obviously larger, right? From this guy, from this little guy to this bigger guy. Therefore, A is the increase in the area. D is incorrect. Let's see why. Okay, the total amount of tariff if B, C, and D. What is tariff, right? This is the per unit tariff. I'm importing this much. In fact, it should only be area C only. Okay, so D is incorrect， 因為應該就係 C 先至係個 tariff 啦。Okay, the tariff revenue. Okay, 得唔得啊？ So this is how we do it. You see, not exactly too hard. 64% of people get it right. 好啦， now then let us go to page 7. Page 7 of your note, right? 好啦， now 2018 question 41. Now this time a little bit harder, right? Now, imposition of an import tariff. 好啦， now which of the following are true? Okay, are correct after the imposition of import tariff. 係咪？而家就 S 定去 S1啦。So what happens is that first, the total 喂，唔好就記住，唔好就記住，唔好就記住。喂，窒完未？ Yes, okay. Now, the total amount of tariff received by the government. Okay, now which is the tariff? Remember, per unit tariff, amount of import. 中間呢個 amount of import, right? This green area is the tariff revenue. So let's see. How do we calculate? 60 minus 25, 35 times 10 minus 7. 3, 105. Yes, it is true. 105啦。好啦， the revenue of domestic producer will increase. 好嘛？點計啊？ Do you remember? Total revenue equals to P times Q. But we are only talking about the domestic producer. So which part is the domestic producer? Remember, only the upward sloping part here. So originally, up to here, originally, this guy, 7 times 20. New, 10 times 25. 見唔見啊？新嗰嚿係呢嚿 P times Q, right? For the domestic only. 點解？後面啊 remember, those at the back are import to the overseas producer, right? This would be 10 times 25. So 140, 250. Yes, the increase is 110, no problem, right? Volume of import dropped by 15 units, right? Import originally 7 minus 20. 原先啊70減20. Now 60 minus 25. 50, 35. Therefore, yes, drop by 15. Answer D. Okay, 好嘛？嗱 so you see, right? This is how we approach tariff question. Okay, 好嘛？仲有冇 tariff 啊？冇啦，應該冇晒 tariff 啦。Tariff. Okay, no more tariff. Now, let us then go back to a more difficult topic. 嗱，你見到 tariff 其實唔算好難嘅 but because the more difficult one is actually quota. Okay, quota is a little bit complicated. Okay, so let me slow down here a little bit. 好啦 here we have, of course, our PQ. Then we have our demand. Okay, now this time remember also we have our domestic supply, of course, right? Then normally we would have a world price right here. We will have our world price right here. 好啦 normally we will have a horizontal curve right here. 好嘛 now so the effective 我哋望咗先啦 the original effective supply curve is this guy, right? 係咪正常呢個紅色呢條嘛 but the thing is what is a quota? Quota meaning originally it would be infinite. Now quota would limit the amount of imports that we can have. So it shouldn't go all the way to here. Let's say now the government only allows quota of this amount. 去到呢度啫 okay? It only allows up to here. 去到呢度啫 okay? So obviously we still have this part. But what happens to the rest of the part? Can you buy from the overseas market? No. 你冇得再去 overseas 度買啦 The only thing you can turn to is actually local again. 你翻返 local 啦 Our S2 would be right here. Okay? 好嘛？嗱，呢個就係 quota 啦 This is how we draw a quota. Okay? 好嘛？ Now, let's spend some time. This time, we need to look at how increase and decrease. 好嘛？好啦。Now, for simplicity reason, I'm going to miss out some curves. 等你睇得清楚啲啦，好嘛？我哋淨係睇重要幾條啫。So this is our demand. Now, of course, right? Sorry, 上面睇漏咗啲嘢，太快添。Of course, our Q1, this would be our domestic consumption, right? So this quota will be used up. So this part, and this part, these two adding together will be our domestic production. 原來本地啦會做呢兩嚿啊。Okay, so it's a little bit difficult because it's being chopped up in our diagram. Alright, 好啦，咁望下啦。如果 increase 嘅話，發生咩事啦？嗱 ，for simplicity reason, I only draw the relevant curve here. Okay, 好嘛？嗱，我哋就畫呢條啦。This is let's call it S1. 好嘛？This is only the relevant part. Now, what happens is that, now this is our Q1, let's call it. Let's imagine the quota now increases to become this. 好嘛？嗱 this is our quota 1. Now let's say increase all the way to here. Quota 2. 好嘛？ So what happens will be here, this part still effective all the way here. Then we will have this S2, of course, shifts to the right. 好嘛？ So you will see in this case, our import volume would increase. What about our domestic production? Actually, domestic production would drop. Also, price would drop. 你見到啦，價都會跌喎。P1 drops to P2 right here, all the way back to 係嘛？嗱 depends on how much it is providing, right? 係嘛？ depending on how much it is providing, how much quota it is allowing. OK， 好嘛？原來咁樣嘅啫。The same, if you look at here, the decrease, then it will be just the opposite. 都係啦。Now to make it simple, I will just draw the relevant curves here. This is our demand. Oh, sorry, 斜咗添。This is our S1. Now, since we are, this is our Q1, this is our quota 1, of course, right? Now, let's imagine the government, hey, no more such quota, only up to here. 係嘛？淨係俾咁多你啫。This is our quota 2. Then you need to resort to our local market quickly. 係咪 quicker? So it shifts to left. So what happened is that you will see, right? You will see what happened is that import definitely would drop. Now for domestic, right? Most likely, 你其實諗下知啦，係咪？ Since there are less import, right? So the only way you turn to will be the local market. Most likely, domestic production would also increase. Okay, 好嗎？ So this is how we do it. And of course, you will see the price of domestic goods would also increase. 係咪？少咗競爭啊嘛？係咪？少咗競爭啊嘛？ Okay, 得唔得？ So this is how we do the analysis. Now, I know it's a little bit complicated. So in case you don't get it, now it will be a good time to pause the video and try to think about it. If you don't understand, watch it again or WhatsApp me, call me, and I will teach you, okay, how to do the analysis. 好嘛？好啦，如果 OK 嘅話咧，嗱 let's do some practice. 喂，做乜支筆係咁碌嘅咁啊？咩事啊？ Now here, now this, let's do it at last. 我哋最後先做好嘛？ Now let's turn to page 5 of your notes, okay? Page 5. Now this time, 2016, 56% is a little bit difficult for this question, right? So here you have the domestic supply, right? And you are given the import quota is exactly this, right? Has an import quota of X. Now, if for whatever reason, the demand for good X increases. So let's draw it. Let's say it increased to here. Okay. So what would happen? First, import volume would increase. Is that correct? No, it wouldn't. The reason is simple. You see, originally, they already use up all the import quota. 用晒啦，原先已經. So what happens if I have an increase in demand? 記住啦，其實咧條 supply curve 點啊？ The effective supply curve is actually like this. Okay, it's actually like this. This is our S1. 得唔得？ the effective supply curve. Therefore, even if your demand increases, your import volume won't increase. The only thing that would increase would be the domestic production. OK， 好嘛？一唔啱啦，即係二三啱啦，係咪？ So 2 and 3. So what happens? Price of good eggs would increase. Yes, from P0 to here P1 係嘛？其實好易諗嘅啫，係嘛？係咪好易諗嘅啫 ？Now you want more goods, but you cannot turn to the overseas, so you stick with the local market. Suddenly, the local market, the local goods becomes more competitive， 吸引咗啊，係咪啊？咁咪貴咗咯，好嘛 ？Demand increase， 好啦 ，quantity sold of good eggs in the country will increase, of course, right？ 係咪啊 ？Originally in the country, only this part。係嘛 ？Only this part. Now you also add up this part. 係嘛 ？Therefore will increase. 係嘛 ？Quantity sold of good eggs and 係嘛 ？The quantity also of course include the import quota. 咁咪升咯，係嘛 ？Demand increase, quantity increase. So 2 and 3. 好嘛？唔係好難啫。好啦，嗱 this one。57% for whatever reason. It says a small open economy increased quota. Which of the diagram should be the answer, right? 你估呢條啲人錯咩啦 ？Okay, I think a lot of people will be answering A. Of course, is wrong because it is a small open economy. A small open economy, the situation they face would not be this one, but instead it would be facing this situation. 打橫嗰條啊 Therefore, when you talk about quota and tariff, be very careful, very sensitive to 3 words. Small open economy. If you don't see these 3 words, stick to what we have in chapter 11, market intervention. OK， 得唔得？唔該你自己小心啲啦。好啦， now this one we are done. 3 more questions and we will call it off， 係咪啊？係啦 ，3 more questions， right？ 好啦 ，now here this time 30% 一流啊呢條係咪 ？Of course it is in the report，right？ 好啦 ，shows again 你見啊 ，import quota just used up，right？ Now it says initially at world price P-dub and the government imposed an import quota. Suppose the price of good eggs now, here, I think 1 word is missing. Suppose the world price, 對唔住嚇，打漏咗字。It should be suppose the world price drops. So which of the following would be true, right? 好啦，有少少難嘅其實。Okay, there are 2 ways to explain. Okay, first of all, the here not feel will fall. 唔知點解成日打錯字啊 will fall. Okay, 好啦 first of all, the answer is A right here. 好嘛，嗱我哋先睇咗少少嘢先，好嘛 domestic supply curve will shift to the right. Will it? No. I asked the question, is there any change in production cost? 有冇變啊 Production cost? No. Technology? Any change? No. There is nothing changed in the local supply market. Therefore, it shouldn't have any shift. All right? 好啦，但係點知係 A 啊 There are 2 ways to answer. First, you know me, I love using logic to explain. So, let's look at Q2. Q2, this is our domestic consumption, right? It consists of 2 parts. First part, it consists of domestic production. Second part, it consists of imports. 好嘛 Now, we originally use up all the import quota. If they drop the price now, the world price drop, obviously it should go down, right? But my question is, when the price goes down, you would want more of the import. Can you? 你而家可唔可以啊? Can you get more? No, because of the quota, import volume would remain unchanged. And we just mentioned, 係嘛? Option C, domestic production also remains unchanged. 講得簡單啲，有冇嘢變過啊? There is nothing changed. Q2, it didn't change anything at all. Okay? Since Q2 didn't change, would there be any change in the domestic market? No. Therefore, answer would be A. 冇嘢變過啊. Okay? 好嘛? Quantity, of course, would also not increase because, again, nothing has changed. Okay, now if you want the diagram, let's draw the diagram here. Let's imagine world price drops all the way to here. PW2. 好嘛? Therefore, we also have this part. Now, unfortunately, since here we have an import quota, therefore, we use it up all. Trust me, it must hit this original point too, for one simple reason. Okay? These two equal in length. These two parallel with each other. 咁即係咩嚟㗎? This would be a parallelogram. 係嘛? Therefore, it must hit this point by geometry, right? 係咪有啲人聽到拗晒頭？阿 Sir 點解 econ 都要 geometry 嘅？係嘛? So this is a diagram explanation. But if you don't understand, my advice, stick to this. Okay? Stick to this. 咁下次可唔可以玩嘢啊? Yes, next time I can trick you. What if next time the question, the import quota is not fully used up? Okay, if it is not fully used up, then this guy may change. 係嘛? 如果佢冇用晒啦, this guy may go up. Okay, 好嘛? So be very careful. Okay, this is only one special situation for this question. Okay, 好嘛? 好啦, now one more question for quota, and then we wrap up with one question and some extra tips from me. Okay, 好啦，嚟啦。2020, in a small open economy, okay, 好嘛? P0 is the price before trade, and P1 is the price after trade. 點解 after trade 會喺度啊? Of course, because this is the world price, right? Because this is the world price. 好嘛? Okay, now here. Now, which of the following statement is true, okay, after it opens up? Total expenditure of good X of domestic consumer would be P1 and QD. 係嘛? 嗱，睇住啊, total expenditure of consumer. Yes, consumer. We are talking about demand curve, right? 係嘛? It would be P1 and QD. 係啊，佢真係使咁多啊. Consumer would be spending on each unit P1 and buying QD this amount. Yes, true. 好啦，第二個啦 the value of domestically produced good X would be P1QS. Yes, 係咪啊？前面呢 part 啊 this part, right? This part is the domestic because remember, this part is the import. 呢個 import 啊嘛，所以前面係咪啊？ The previous part would be the domestic produced. 係嘛？ Produced. 嗱，記住啊，小心啲字啊。It's called produced. If it is called consumed, then it will be QD. Okay? Also true. Shortage. 邊度 shortage 啫? Where do you see a shortage? No. 有咩 shortage 啫? 陰你啊！啲傻仔唔溫書啊！呢個咪 shortage 咯，好似傻仔咁啦，係咪? No, this is an import, not a shortage. All right? So, one final question, and then I give you some tips, and then we are officially done with our DSC syllabus. Now, let's let us go back to page. Yeah. Let us go back to page 4 of your notes. 睇一條 theory 啲㗎啦。Now, which the supply curve of a certain good is an upward sloping in a small open economy. So,記住啊 in a small open economy. So, what is the main difference between imposing the import quota and tariff on a good, right? Now, first, imposing an import tariff will lower the volume of import. Yeah, true. While tariff will not. 冇玩啊，冇玩啊，收稅嚟做咩啊 ？Okay, Donald Trump, why he is having such a heavy tariff? 喂，大佬，係嘛？ The heavy tariff is to prevent others from prevent US from importing too much, right? 係咪啊？好啦。Will result in a rise in consumer surplus, while imposing a tariff will not. 係咪啊？ Actually, I think both are incorrect because both basically. Now remember, a tariff result in a higher price. 係咪啊？ Result in a higher price. When price is higher, consumer surplus would decrease, right? P and QD. Now, what about a quota? Quota, remember, right? Quota would also result in an increase in price, which somehow would also make consumer surplus decrease. May decrease. I'm not saying must decrease, right? May decrease, okay? 好唔好啊？ May decrease. 唔係喎，其實 must 㗎 okay? Because quantity would also drop. 係咪？兩個都會跌㗎噃。So this is also not wrong. Not true. C will raise the world price while quota will not. Is that true? No. Remember, world price cannot be affected by a small open economy. So also not true. Answer D 自己睇啦，好嗎？係嘛？嗱 ，tariff result in increase in government revenue. Okay. While imposing an effective quota may not. 嗱，你見你點解佢講 may not 嘅 ？Because in reality, okay, in reality, the government can also ask the exporter, the importer, to bid for the quota and get some money. Okay. 好嘛，嗱，所以你見到啦 ，Do we have more exercise? No. These are all the questions up to 2020. 見唔見啊？ It does not have a lot of question. Basically, 嗱，我哋不如數下啦，14、15、16、17、18、19、20 Really, each year one MC only. 真係每年得一條 MC 咋，係咪好刺激啊 ？Alright, so my advice, if you really find this chapter to be too difficult, don't waste your time here. Alright, now one final tips. 嗱，你見到啦，我貼下題啦，Sir，好唔好啊 ？You see, so many questions only ask for an increase, decrease in tariff or quota or demand. What about if the domestic supply increases? What happens? Then it should look something like this. Okay, 哇！我支筆都冇乜啦，佢叫我快啲收工啦要。Okay, this is our demand. Now let's draw the original one. 好嘛？let's imagine this is a quota. 好嘛？我哋睇 quota 嘅 case 啊。Original quota. Let's imagine this is our original effective supply, right? Now, what if our domestic supply increases? 嗱，你記得啦 if the quota increases, then only this part would extend, right? But if the local domestic supply increase, then actually this part would increase. This part would also increase. So the whole curve would shift if this is a domestic supply increase. So far 未出過㗎，我估佢有機會出㗎。Okay, so hopefully it can help you. Remember, if the domestic supply increases, then the whole curve will shift. Okay, Homa. And with that said, I think we are officially done with chapter 24. All right. So for the following videos, right? Of course, I'll talk about the homeworks and all those kind of things. And then there is one more notes coming up. That would be our revision notes. Okay, I'm still making it. X2, X3, we understand, right? So after that, let's see whether I have time to shoot a very, very long video. Okay, basically, last minute, uh, comprehensive review of the whole syllabus. All right, but until then, I will see you again in our next video. All right. Bye bye.